such a great introduction. Hi, everybody. There are so many of you, so much more than I thought there would be. I am so excited to be here and getting to speak with all of you. I am always so inspired by seeing the youth. You guys are so impressive. It's just something I couldn't fathom. I was not like you when I was your age. Let's just put it that way. There are two halves of me that as a whole make up my drive to succeed, my drive to get up each day, and my drive to survive. One half is to create art, create entertainment. The other half is to serve, to be in service of, to show up for community. When the first half, the half, to succeed, is feeling sluggish and disjointed, it's reminded of the second half, the half to be in service of, and uses that as drive. I believe the first half is something that you build. The second half is who you were born to be. Nietzsche wrote that the way to discover what you were put on earth for is to go back into your past, list the times you felt most fulfilled, and then see if you can draw a line through. Some of you may know me as an actor, some may not, and that's totally fine. I take no offense. I haven't even watched most of what I've done. But I am an actor by trade. It's what I do, it's what I love. There isn't a day that goes by where I'm not insanely grateful that I am lucky enough to have had my hard work pay off. But like any job, there are a lot of ups and downs. When I was about 24 years old, I booked a show called One Tree Hill. Okay, some of you do know it. Fun fact for those who have seen that show and know what role I am referring to, when I landed that role, I knew her as a sweet nanny who I assumed would have minimal storyline. I was just excited to be finally joining a show that people were actually watching. Then as my role went on and the scripts came in, she got wilder and wilder. For those of you who don't know the show, she kidnapped a child and tortured a grandfather. So yeah, when I say she got wild, she got wild. I had so much fun getting to play that role. It is still to this day one of my favorite characters. And I was finally in a space outside of any acting class where I was really getting to use my acting chops rather than just playing girlfriend number one or the fiance. I was doing everything I had sought out to do when I was 18 years old and moved to LA. And although that first half of me, the artist, the creator, the entertainer, was fulfilled, the second half of me wasn't. I was going home at night feeling down and depressed. I saw so many things about my industry that I really disliked. I quickly realized that being a successful actor came with a lot of other stuff that you have to deal with and ingest that I just really was ill-equipped for. You're around a lot of egos and things that I was totally unaware of. Somehow I felt the more I worked and the more popular the shows I was on got, the less creative I was able to be. That's when I realized so deeply in my soul and in my gut that I needed an outlet. To be working in an industry that puts so much weight on, weight and looks and vanity and all of those things that don't drive life or happiness or really anything that's real or that really matters, I realized that I needed another outlet to get out of my own head, to forget myself. Helen Keller once observed, there is joy in self-forgetfulness. And once you tap into that second half of you, the half that craves what I call your soul's purpose, there's really no unseeing it or unfeeling it. It becomes, I can't not do this. And that's how I felt when I found and started hospice volunteering. It's funny, I joke all the time about how alarmed my family and friends were around me when I started doing hospice work. They would say to me all the time, but you're already so depressed, isn't this gonna make it worse? And I didn't know how to explain to them other than to say it brings a light and a joy and a self-forgetfulness in my life that I can't find anywhere else and is invaluable to me. So from then on, I quickly realized that in order to do my job well and live my life with joy, I had to be a part of something bigger than me. I had to be in service. Now, I really want to stress that that means something different for every person here. What lights you up, what drives your passion, where your capabilities lie, what your soul came to do is tailor-made to each and every one of you. Only you can answer that question and answer that yearning. It is up to you to ask, what's my best life? What do I believe in? Where do I belong? For me personally, my truth comes to me as hits. I remember I stayed up late one night, about 6 years ago, I think, and I was watching this documentary called Audrey and Daisy. If you don't know this documentary, I do highly recommend that everyone watches it, but full disclosure, it is very difficult to watch. It is a film about sexual assault and can be very triggering. For me, it triggered a fire. I had another moment of, I can't not do this. I reached out to the girls, the ones that were still alive from the film, and I saw that they started an organization called SafeBAE, and I begged them to let me work with them. I told them that no ask was too big, use me however you want or need. I was filled with passion for the work that they were doing. And it's working with organizations like SafeBAE, who are doing the good work, the life-changing work, the life-saving work, that gets me out of bed and lights my drive when I feel it dwindling. Because I know the more I work, the bigger of a voice I can have to support and speak out on things that matter and causes that matter to me. So the two halves of myself motivate each other, and I have found a way and learned how to use them in tandem. A quote I love is from Dr. William H. Sheldon. Happiness is essentially a state of going somewhere wholeheartedly, one-directionally, without restriction or reservation or regret. You are all here because you are clearly high achievers. You know how to set your mind to a goal and execute it. There are so many ways that you can use your knowledge and strengths for good, for whatever lights up your second half. Sometimes I feel like we get overwhelmed looking at the macro, right? Like looking at things globally or in an overwhelmingly big way. Sometimes it makes you think, how can just my voice make a difference? Or I'm only just one person, right? But every time I travel to a school to discuss SafeBAE with students, or talk to somebody about pet adoption versus purchasing, or share my story of an abortion I had when I was 21, to implore people to understand the importance of a woman's right to choose and the importance of fundamental health care for women, I always walk away thinking, if I even impacted one person, I'll feel like I've done something right. And sometimes you may not even feel that or see the effects that you have on people. You don't always know what sticks with people and what they go home remembering and thinking about. That's why when you show up with your most honest, true intentions and let the love of why you're there guide you, you can never go wrong. I can guarantee you that some of my greatest mentors have no idea that they even impacted me. You, as an honor society, as human beings with a brain and a heart and a soul, you have a voice. I was listening to a podcast called On Being with Krista Tippett, and on her show was a guest, Jane Goodall, whom I absolutely love. And Jane Goodall said, "We will never reach our full potential until we can use both head and heart, both the intellect and love and compassion together." I find that a lot of times in activism these days, people feel the need to scream and kick down the door and shout. And yes, that is needed sometimes, but I think what's being left out is the power of the Jane Goodalls and the RBGs. So much of their power and courageousness came from listening and from a place of kindness and of love. On that same podcast, On Being with Krista Tippett, Jane Goodall also described the anger some animal activist groups actually had with her for conversing with people in labs. And her response was, if you don't sit down and talk to people, how are they going to change? I gave them stories. I don't believe people change because they're bullied. I believe people change because they change from within. So I gave them stories. I mean, how powerful is that? Don't ever forget to listen. Don't ever forget that hatred and violence stems from pain. I know that may sound controversial, but no one is born with a grenade in their hand. I am so excited for all of you. There are so many avenues waiting for you to venture down. Be bold enough to make mistakes. Sit in those mistakes, feel them, learn from them. I can guarantee you I have grown more from difficult times than I ever did or do from the easy times. Mistakes build character. Character emerges from our commitments. Be committed, be excited, be brave. Be what you feel you needed and didn't have. Be what you wish you saw. I am so inspired by your generation, your passion, your knowledge, your fight. It's such an honor to be amongst all of you today and able to speak with you. I am so excited for all that I know you're going to achieve. So thank you for listening to me today, and good luck.